Hello everyone, welcome to a special episode, kind of all of disaster. Because for the first time since the very humble beginnings of my tiny little YouTube channel, one of the people that I make videos about has actually responded to one of my videos. Now I would first of all like to extend my most heartfelt thanks to Kryptonite Physics here, who has clearly shown some interest in well, from what I can tell, as far as it is now, very factual and you know, not very honest answers and criticisms, right? So he has left this comment under my last video. There was a whole thread of comments until I said, well, I'll just make a video about it because I don't really like arguing. I apologize, arguing in comments, right? So I thought I'd just make a brief video about what my criticism is, right? But still, thanks Kryptonite Physics for the opportunity to have a talk about this, right? So first of all, I like to simplify things. You have a 1 kilogram weight, a 9 kilogram weight, and you are going with the actual numbers on the globe. Now that is all nice and dandy, but I would like to, because our difference is not in the numbers, our differences is in the very principle that go into these kind of thoughts, right? So I thought I'd simplify things. First of all, we have the stationary case, nothing is rotating, there's just a 1 kilogram weight, and I'm simplifying. G is now 10 meters per second squared, not 9.81 anymore. I've just simplified for the sake of argument, so I don't need to talk about numbers all the time, right? So, okay, we have a stationary object on the ground. There is a downwards acceleration of 10 meters per second squared. Clearly, there's a force of 10 newtons, since, well, force equals mass times acceleration. Acceleration in this case is 10 meters per second squared, so and the mass is of 1 kilogram, so we weigh 10 newton. I believe that so far we very much agree. Now, let's say we have a rotating frame of reference, not necessarily the Earth, and I choose the rate of rotation so fast that there is a force of 1 Newton acting upwards, just 1 Newton, right? So 1 again, because it's a nice and easy number. So we have 1 Newton of upwards force, 10 Newton of downwards force. So our resulting force, the resulting forces from now on will always be in red. A resulting force of 9 Newton pressing down on the ground. Great. I very much believe we still agree. Now we have a scale and we're rotating. The scale here is white. We have again a 1 kilogram mass on top of the scale. We have a 1 Newton force acting up and a 10 Newton force pointing down. And as you profess to be a man of vector addition, or subtraction in that case, you know that the vector of 1 Newton in the other direction of a vector of 10 Newton leaves us with a total vector, the resulting, or some people call it net force, of 9 Newton pointing down. That's what the scale will say. Of course, the scale won't say 9 Newton. The scale has a microcontroller or sometimes a mechanical device in it that translates the force that it receives in some kind of mass reading, right? But if we keep to the simple things, 9 newtons are acted upon the scale. 9 Newton is what the scale would tell us if it would tell us the newtons directly. Great. Now, so far, I believe we still agree. And now is the part where, for some reason, we disagree. There's a weight under the scale now, in the same thing that's going on. The weight now is green, so we can work the numbers a bit. Okay, so what's going on? We have still the weight on top of the scale, with 1 Newton pointing up, 10 Newton pointing down. So there's a net force, as in the example before, of 9 Newton pointing down from this weight here. The green weight has 1 Newton pointing up, 10 Newton pointing down, which is essentially this case here, just that here is blue. Now the weight here is green. 1 Newton up, 10 Newton down, resulting net force of 9 Newton down. Do you see how the scale still has to measure 9 Newton? You could put a skyscraper below there and it would still have 9 Newton. Very obviously, it measures the downward force. that's what's going on, right? So the force of the scale is still 9 Newton and 9 Newton only. What you did in your example is you added this 1 Newton here. That's the force acting on essentially the whole system that points upwards. You very selectively added that to the downwards part as if it was pressing upon the scale. That would only apply if this 1 Newton only, solely and only acted on the green weight here, which clearly it doesn't, it acts on the whole system. So this is what you did. You have selectively only looked at the additional upwards force and not the resulting forces. I very much believe that you did that on accident. Yes. The green weight does not contribute to the weight the scale measures. Absolutely not. And to show that to you in a bit more intuitive term, maybe, which is a thought experiment that I've already left in the comments, but I thought I'd bring it up anyways. Let's have a thought experiment. Some force, doesn't need to be the rotation force, any force you'd like to think of, right? We can even make one up. Imagine that some force as strong as gravity, or whatever you would like to call the downwards acceleration, it's just as strong as gravity, but it points in exactly the other direction. So you have 10 Newton pointing upwards here on the 1 kilogram weight again, 10 Newtons pointing down, and the same goes for the weight at the bottom. Now that means that we have zero net force anywhere. So in other terms, if I were to bump this this 1 kilogram weight a bit with my finger, it would just move, because you know without air resistance, of course, the Newton's law, an object in motion stays in motion until acted upon by force, blah blah blah. So now we have no net or resulting forces at all. The scale would read zero. There are no forces acting. Imagine if you are in absolute weightlessness and you just put a scale between two 1 kilogram weights, and they wouldn't drift apart for some reason, right? From just by chance, really. But they wouldn't drift apart. The scale would of course read zero, right? However, in your model, the scale should be reading now 10 Newton still, because it apparently is pressed upon by the upwards force, which is selectively only only looking at the upwards force, not at the resulting forces. I believe that should tell you where my argument goes with this. If you still disagree with that for some reason, I would of course be very much interested in hearing as to why that is. However, I would ask you maybe to not, I mean, of course you can comment under my videos, please feel free to do so. However, I would ask you if we had a serious discussion about this, I would ask you to do this in some sort of discussion, really, and not in some comment section on a YouTube channel, mine, that no one looks. It's still mine. I'm sure someone out there would be most glad to host a debate, well, not really a debate, but some sort of talk between the two of us if we both find the time. I judge from your username that you are from the UK. I am from Central Europe, so we should be fine here time-wise. But of course, if you don't feel like it, that's of course also perfectly fine. And with that, I believe I'm done with the basic outline of my argument. I thank you very much for watching. Kryptonite Physics, or Chris as I believe you're called, if you watch this video, I thank you very much for engaging in a discussion. And with that, I will leave you to it. To all the other viewers, I say thank you very much for watching. Maybe consider leaving a like, or maybe even dare I suggest you consider subscribing. And yeah, other than that, I hope you enjoyed this little video of mine, and see you next time. Have a nice day.